Trunks stares at Android 17, his anguished expression souring into an infuriated scowl. 17's shock wears off, and he lets out a little amused laugh, remarking that the kid finally went blonde like his dad. Trunks rushes in and puts a stop to the android's mocking with a vicious strike. Trunks, despite his rage, knows that he needs to make sure his father's okay first. He helps Vegeta stand, who's barely clinging on to his Super Saiyan form. Trunks' energy is wild and untamed, and as an extension it leaks over into Vegeta's energy, giving the prince enough of a boost and ki to keep going for now. It's not a lot, but it stabilizes the exhausted prince's Super Saiyan state. Vegeta tells Trunks that now's their chance to get their revenge. The father and son duo charge towards 17, whose cocky smirk disappears from his face, quickly replaced by a frustrated glare. Meanwhile, Gohan is managing decently well against 18, but Trunks' sudden transformation caught both of their attentions. It lets Gohan get a good read on both Trunks' and Vegeta's energy, and he realizes something. They aren't strong enough, and they won't be until Trunks gets a handle on his Super Saiyan form. Gohan glances over at the android he's fighting. He ducks into a building, hiding his energy signature as he drops out of Super Saiyan. He needs to get Trunks and Vegeta out of here before they end up dying. Vegeta and Trunks begin to lay into 17. The android's temper grew more and more, and his patience began to wear thin. Android 17 suddenly decided that he was done playing with these Saiyans once and for all. All the motion drained from his face, except for the slightest bit of a smile. Of a cocky, knowing smirk. In an instant, he flashed forward and struck Vegeta straight in the stomach. Trunks' power surged at the sight, but with the last of his power draining out of him, Vegeta headbutted 17. It was enough to cause the android to stumble. The prince's hair faded from gold to black as he fell onto the ground, succumbing to his exhaustion and injuries. Trunks turned his attention to the android and tried his best to fight, but it was for naught. Just when all hope seemed lost, Gohan burst from a building and yelled out to grab 17's attention. He fired off a blinding ki blast, grabbing Vegeta and Trunks and flying off as fast as he can manage. Trunks struggled a bit before giving in and dropping out of his Super Saiyan transformation. The three had managed to get away, for now. After the events of Peppertown, the three Saiyans continued training for another few years. They decided to lay low for as long as possible to get Trunks caught up, so nothing of note happens until Trunks turns 17. The time machine is finished. Vegeta and Gohan evaluate Trunks. He's still not strong enough to properly turn the tides of battle in the Saiyans' favor, so they do what they decide is best. Trunks is sent off to the past to prevent this entire future from happening in at least one timeline. While he does that, Gohan and Vegeta get back to training as hard as they can and protecting the Earth in the meantime. In the past, things went as they did originally, although with some minor tweaks. Trunks arrives, embarrassing Mecha Frieza and King Cold, albeit Trunks has a bit of his father's ego from being around him so long, so he messes around a bit more, and, does some more aura farming, you get the idea. He meets Goku, and just as they plan, he gives him the medicine for his future heart virus. After getting a quick read of Goku's power for fun, Trunks tells him the truth. Goku is surprised to hear that Vegeta of all people survives the future, and that Gohan is alive and well too. He questions why they haven't beaten the androids with so many strong guys around. Are they really that strong? Trunks answers that they're unlike anything they've ever seen. Goku understands, but of course he still wants to fight him. But he also asks Trunks to relay a message to Gohan, and Trunks agrees. Trunks also gives Goku the time and date of the android's arrival, and drops the bomb of being Vegeta and Bulma's son onto him. And with that, Trunks departs the past, having completed his mission, deciding to himself that he'll check in on the past as soon as the time machine is refueled, thinking that they might need the help. Trunks returns to the future, and reveals what happened to Gohan and Vegeta. Vegeta would usually be irritated that he didn't get to obliterate Frieza, but hearing just what his son did to that tyrant makes him laugh and applaud. Gohan also gets his father's message, which is Goku basically being super proud of him for fighting as long as he has, and to keep going for everyone on Earth and for him. It inspires Gohan. It brings back memories of his father before his tragic death. That subtle defeated nature Gohan had developed started to shed, and was quickly replaced by a burning blaze of hope. Everyone at Capsule Corp is in good spirits after a successful trip back to the past. They learn it's going to take over a year, roughly, to refuel the time machine, but that's okay. The three Saiyans are all fired up after their victory. And the next 18 months fly by before they know it. They make extra progress on their training thanks to their growing hope for the situation. Trunks is 19 now, and the time machine is ready to be used again. Trunks thinks he'll be gone for a while, but he knows that his father and Gohan will be alright. As he says goodbye, the two remaining Saiyans get straight back to their training. Trunks' second trip to the past remains the same as it did originally. He still finds out about the timeline differences and all that jazz, but there are some moments I'd like to highlight. First, in the notorious scene of Vegeta not saving Bulma and present Trunks. Just like the original, future Trunks is just as shocked, if not even more so. Now, of course he heard it from his mother that his father was a bit of a punk back then, but he didn't expect that. He also makes a mental note of the lookout in the time chamber when he gets to them, just in case they might still be around in the future. Present Vegeta and Trunks' dynamic still develops in a similar way, although Trunks warms up easier to his father's shenanigans. He still kind of struggles to process some of his actions, though. The father he knows would have never let Cell transform, for example, at least in Trunks' ideal vision of his father. Back in the future, the absence of Trunks is felt by everyone, but they still press on. They don't scuffle with the androids. They don't think it's very smart to risk getting themselves killed with Trunks in the past. Vegeta and Gohan both notice a wall in their Super Saiyan training, just like Goku and Vegeta did in the other timeline. They can't get any stronger, so they both slowly realize that they need to jump the hurdle of Super Saiyan. They need more power. However, they just can't figure out for the life of them what to do. Gohan tries to put himself in his father's shoes, trying to think of what he would do, while Vegeta unknowingly follows in his past self's footsteps. They begin the long road of training their Super Saiyan states before they are interrupted with the return of Trunks. Trunks immediately regales them of what happened in the past. He tells them of the two new androids that he believes have long since died in their time, of the lookout, and most importantly, of the upcoming threat of Cell. Vegeta and Gohan both get frustrated at the thought of a potentially stronger android showing up. Trunks tells them both of what he can do now. They're completely stunned as they witness Trunks' display of Super Saiyan and its grades. Gohan is floored at the thought of his past self unlocking an entirely new transformation, and Vegeta even more. They realize just how far behind they are compared to their past selves. Trunks isn't sure when his Cell is supposed to appear, but he knows it'll be soon. And still, he knows his father and Gohan need to catch up. Trunks guides them both to where the lookout was in the past. The three arrive and take a look around. It looks untouched, but they can't find anyone there. Still, they search, and eventually they find Mr. Popo, who's obviously scared, but hey, he's still around. Trunks is overjoyed. He knows that Mr. Popo is the one who takes care of the time chamber, which means it might still exist in this timeline. Trunks immediately introduces everyone to Mr. Popo, and Mr. Popo to everyone. Mr. Popo obviously gets it, and understands what they're here for. He warns them of the time chamber's limits, obviously. Vegeta and Gohan, they understand, and Popo shows them in for a full year of training in just a day. However, before they could go in, Trunks warns both of them that it's a lot worse than it seems, and to try and not go crazy inside there. But now that his two mentors are off catching up in their own way, Trunks ruminates on what to do next. He knows just how much it means to his father to get his revenge on Android 17. That's all he seems to think about. Destroying those androids, especially 17. Despite the risk it poses, Trunks wants to let his father have one win, and Gohan too. This is something a regular future Trunks wouldn't do, but our Trunks is a little more like his father. He sat through all those speeches of Saiyan pride, and he gets that his father might genuinely be mad at him for taking his fight away. But then he thinks back to what happened with Cell. Would he let that happen again? He died. Would he let them die in this timeline? His own father? Gohan? Trunks eventually, he gives in, and decides to wait at the time chamber for his father and Gohan to emerge, so they can beat the androids as a trio. Now in the time chamber, Gohan and Vegeta realize just how much of a struggle this training will truly be. However, they press on, exploring the two avenues of Super Saiyan's Ascension as they work themselves down to the bone. Gohan, who knows what his father did in the past, seeks to emulate it, so he spends as much time as he can in Super Saiyan, attempting to master it. Meanwhile, Vegeta thinks that his past self had the right idea, but was younger and stupider, and he won't make the same mistake with that strength. So when he unlocks Super Vegeta, or Super Saiyan Grade 2, he vows to not be as foolish. Their year comes to a close before any of them could reach that elusive goal of Super Saiyan 2. They're a little surprised to see Trunks waiting for them, especially Gohan, who thought Trunks would have gone off to kill the androids. Trunks tells him that he was waiting for them. Vegeta, he smirks, and strangely enough, bit out of character though, but he thanks his son for doing so, marking that he's glad that Trunks understands the importance of this fight to him. I mean, the pride that is on the line here. After a quick clasp of hands and a knowing smirk shared between the three, they take off to stop the androids once and for all. However, the future isn't free of meddling either. As the three warriors make their way to Parsley City, Trunks picks up on a familiar key signature that he instantly recognizes. It couldn't be. He's too early. He has to be too early. Trunks lets out an anguished no as he suddenly takes off ahead of Gohan and Vegeta, who both realize something's wrong. They just couldn't make any time though. As Trunks skids to a halt, ripping up the ground, he sees that unmistakable silhouette in the middle of what he dreaded this entire time. Cell was in the middle of absorbing Android 17. Vegeta and Gohan arrive, and Vegeta spots the scene unfolding, and seeing the one man he's wanted just as dead as Kakarot be slurped up into some gross tail makes him the maddest he thinks he's been in years. He doesn't waste time bursting into grade 2 and flying off towards Cell to stop it, but it's far too late. As Cell begins to transform, Trunks yells over to Gohan that they need to destroy Android 18 now. Gohan and Trunks fly off to the sides, boxing the still shocked Android 18 in. They bring their hands up. 18 immediately recognizes what they're about to do and throws up a flimsy barrier. But the Gallic Gun and Masenko combination that was coming right at her, well, that's impossible to hold off. And as it engulfs her, Trunks feels the slightest bit of relief. They might have just won this. He instantly thinks back about how his past father had semi-perfect Cell on the ropes before letting him get his perfect form, so this Cell should be just as easy to manage as that one was. As Vegeta watches Cell's transformation, he's clenching his fists hard enough to draw blood underneath his gloves. Semi-perfect Cell emerges, and he notices the lack of Android 18, which obviously infuriates him, but Vegeta's surging power grabs his attention first and foremost. Vegeta roars out that he's gonna rip Cell in half, and that he knows just who he is, and he's not letting him get away. Cell is stunned. He had planned this elaborate introduction, and judging by Vegeta's power, Vegeta was very much capable of ripping him in half, even despite being one step closer to perfection. Yet, his perfection has been denied. Cell has no idea what to do. And he can't even think about the plan, because Vegeta's charging at him, punching him as hard as he can in the gut. Cell immediately, as he's reacting, clutches his mouth, feeling as if he was about to spit out the android he had just absorbed. Trunks and Gohan get the silent understanding that they are not needed for this fight, nor wanted, and quickly take off to the sidelines. Vegeta is ruthless, beating down the actually kind of poor Cell, who can't do anything to keep himself defended. Vegeta blows off his steam and frustration, savoring every impact of his fist and kicks into Cell's body. Now eventually he blows the android back with a sickening kick, and Vegeta, well, he knows what he has to do, and he brings his hands together. And he's charging this blast before he takes a thunderous step forward and throws his hands forward, unleashing possibly the strongest Gallic gun he thinks he's fired since his first fight against Kakarot all those years ago. Cell sees this blast coming at him at an insane speed. Can't even describe it. It's just too much. He's terrified, and it hits him immediately before he can even think of a reaction besides terror. And obviously, he gets obliterated. The dust clears as Vegeta falls to a kneel, and he punches the ground out of frustration. Admittedly, he's throwing a bit of a tantrum here, but he got the job done. The future was saved. Even if his long-awaited revenge against those androids was taken away from him, he still got something. Trunks immediately checks to see if his father had destroyed Cell completely, knowing of his regeneration capabilities. Thankfully, Vegeta was just too angry to let anything like that slip. The day was saved, even after that tiny scare with Cell. The three can take solace in knowing their fight is finally over. They return to Capsule Corp as heroes. Bulma gets to work throwing a party with the supplies that they have. As the party begins, everyone's in great spirits. Gohan lightly teases Vegeta for that little outburst he had, but Vegeta snaps back that unless Gohan wants to be on the receiving end of that sort of anger, he'll shut his mouth. Gohan's in especially a good mood, finally being able to feel happy. For once. He celebrates with his mother and grandfather mostly, Chi-Chi and the Ox King having come over for the party. Trunks makes plans with his mother to refuel the time machine to tell everyone in the past that he won, and he also just kind of wants to visit them again. Eventually the celebrations end, and some years go by. During the interlude and rebuilding process, Vegeta and Bulma have another child. Yeah, that's right, we're having Bola, or Bra if you want to call her that. However, Because Vegeta did kill the androids, let's give him a win in the family department. After a lot of convincing and hanging the fact he saved the world from the androids over her head, Bulma gives in and they name their daughter Echelot. Vegeta quietly remarks, obviously not to incur his wife's wrath, that since Trunks was named by her, it was only fair for him to name their daughter. Peace finally comes to the future, or so they thought at least, until there was a stranger knocking at the doors of Capsule Corp, introducing himself as Shin, the Supreme Kai, whatever that means, who desperately needed to talk to the three heroes of this world. But that's for part 3. I know less changed or happened in this part, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Now I am getting into the more fanfiction-y type of stuff, probably in the next part, if you can't tell by me including Echelot, or Echelot. Really not sure how you're supposed to say it. I looked it up, I believe it's Echelot, or Echelot, because it's like shallot, Echelot, Echelot, whatever. I'm a Masako X fan, and if he can have his NOC be a part of his what if, so can I. Sumi, she's probably not going to be that important, she's like a baby, but you never know. Fuck you. Sorry, that was mean. So if you do want to see a part 3 though, let me know by liking and subscribing and all that jazz. I won't keep you along for much longer, these videos are already long enough. So, as always, have a good one and stay tuned.